So I'm going to talk about an CLI for Microsoft 365 MCP server. So first of all, if maybe you're not okay, that's me. I'm Adam. I'm just a standard dev. If you're more interested in me, I don't know why. So just stop the slide and read it. Okay. Anyway, so what is CLI for Microsoft 365? This is a command line tool you can use locally. It's based on nodes, so it runs everywhere on every machine and any shell. This is really cool, and it's wraps around basically all of publicly open Microsoft 365 APIs like SharePoint REST APIs, CSOM, Microsoft Graph, Azure APIs, and expose them as commands you can type and run from your terminal, some from like CMD or PowerShell, whatever you use. And it's primarily most probably used by dev and admins and by automated scripts to do stuff on your Microsoft 365 tenant. And it's usually not, sometimes it's wrapping a single API command, but sometimes some commands are for full scenarios that run many different APIs for you. And you just authenticate once. And really awesome that you can authenticate using multiple accounts to multiple tenants, or one time using an account or other time using an app with less permissions, which is really important in this case. And just switch between those accounts. You don't need to log out and log in every time. So it's quite a cool CLI tool you can use to manage your Microsoft 365 tenant. And what is an MCP server? Probably most of us know. By now, it's really popular. But many of us use nowadays LLMs, and we have our APIs, which let's say are like exposed skills of our apps. And unfortunately, LLMs don't co-work good with APIs. That's why MCP servers were created. Model Context Protocol is like a protocol between LLMs and APIs, so they understand each other. Actually, LLMs understand APIs and can use them. And we primarily have two types of MCP servers, one that are running locally. This is a kind of MCP server I will be showing today. And those that are running remotely, so usually you need to log in up front and then you use it over internet. Like basically, most of MCP servers need some kind of internet connection. But running those that run locally also need some additional resources you have on your machine. In this case, we will require Node.js to have it. Some require Docker because they are Docker exposed over Docker. Some require Pythons and stuff like that. And then MCP clients, for example, GitHub Copilot and then you can say it's an MCP client. It uses LLMs and can connect and use MCP servers, and they connect to use MCP servers as their skills, as their tools. So MCP servers can expose tools, prompts, and resources. Okay, and some there are different MCP clients as a result, like Cursor, Cloud, which I wanted to present today, but I got limited in my free program. But I have a prompt ready, so maybe I just show it. And for example, Copilot, which I use in VS Code primary. And then, so how does this MCP server work? It's actually quite easy. As I said, it's running locally. Locally, I need Node.js installed to actually run CLI for Microsoft 365. So CLI is an NPM package you can run over Docker or on your Node.js and over terminal. So I need this set up. And then I need CLI for Microsoft 365 MCP server, which is an additional NPM package. Usually you don't have to install it directly in your terminal. You can use npx for it. And in your MCP client, point that you will be using this MCP server over npx, and you don't have to have it installed locally. It will be just every time the MCP client will use it, it will just download it, install it for this one for this current session, and then it's off, and you have like a clean machine. So this MCP server like wraps around the CLI for Microsoft 365, and then when you are using some MCP client and like speaking to an LLM, it connects and speaks over to this MCP server, which under the hood uses CLI for Microsoft 365, and all of the heavy lifting like auth, which is usually the biggest problem, is handled by this package. So it's something, CLI is already 7 years old, I guess, or something like that. So it has a good history of handling many problems like auth correctly, and we didn't reinvent the wheel here. We are using what is already done good. And that way we can leverage around 860 commands. I think we have even more because these are quite old slides. And you can just use them just like that. Why you should use this MCP server instead of some different ones? Because there are, of course, some different MCP servers directed for Microsoft 365. Like there's a SharePoint MCP server, Microsoft Teams, OneDrive. There is also Microsoft 365 MCP servers. And when I looked at those, the primary problem is the amount of tools they expose. For example, the SharePoint MCP server exposed like 60+ tools, and the more tools your MCP server expose, the more context it takes, and the LLM needs more tokens to let's say process your prompt, and they can get lost and use a wrong tool. And our MCP server has only 3 tools. We are planning another one, a 4th tool that will give us skills to create scripts that use CLI for Microsoft 5 using best practices. And with only those 3 tools, you can manage everything on your tenant. There is a similar also MCP server called Loca, and it was developed as a wrapper around Microsoft Graph. And it's also exposed, I think, like 2 or 3 tools, that's similar like our ones. The advantage of ours is that CLI from Microsoft 365 wraps around not only Microsoft Graph, but other Microsoft-related APIs you may want to use, not only Graph. So that way you can, for example, modify SharePoint pages or other stuff. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the demo. I hope it got to some point. So let me just click those slides and let's see my prompt. So, okay, it didn't fail. Let's see what it reasons. So I asked it to read my email and just follow whatever's in the email to restart. So to follow and regarding the flow run. Okay, so I described that I want to read this specific email. So first it got the list of all of the CLI commands that it could use with the permissions I have. So it's the MCP server is using the account you are currently logged in the npm package in the CLI. So you can switch to an account that is, for example, over an logged in as an app, not as a user, with less privileges, and then you can do less stuff. And so it won't break or remove your whole tenant. You know, it can, for example, it can be logged in with an account or with an app that has only permissions to read stuff. Then it got additional docs about this specific command. So it pointed really good to list all of my messages. So then it knew how to execute this command. It executed this command, got the response, and then perfectly it got to read the email. It understand that it needed to restart the flow button, start flow 1, totally not a temp flow, the test flow. Then it got some additional context about how to list all flows. So, and how to run, how to list all runs of a flow, and then how to, so then it's actually try to list all flows from my default environment. It got all of the response, so it passed the default. First, it listed the environments I have in my Power Platform like instances, and then it lists all flows from that environment. Then, it found that it needs to check the last run, and then most probably got additional context how it can resubmit a flow, and then let's see. And it did try to resubmit a flow with a force parameter, so it didn't prompt me that, are you sure you want to resubmit the flow? It decided that it will resubmit this flow for me. And then it double confirmed, so it rechecked itself. Did it actually run and checked all the last runs if there is a new run of this flow? And and it said, hey, I done it. This is the stuff I do. Usual typical thing of like a MCP, an LLM that could do, yeah. So this was my email. Let's see this flow. Let's refresh. So it'd be like 3 minutes ago. I don't know how I'm already in like nine minutes after my time, so I don't have a lot of time. But I'll show 2 more examples and then I'm off. Okay, so you can see 5 minutes ago it restarted the flow. It did it all for me. I didn't need to do those simple stuff myself. Okay, of course, it can do a lot of more elaborate stuff. And in the repo, I will show the links at the end. In the CLI for Microsoft 365 repo, you have all the guidance how to set it up. Currently, we have guidance how to set it up for VS Code. Using GitHub Copilot CLI and terminal, using cloud, you have 2 different ways. And we are working to expose it over the GitHub MCP registry and Docker toolkit, if I remember correctly. And in this repo wiki, if you're interested in more examples, what you can do, because you can do really powerful scenarios. We have a scenario page where you can go over with recordings what it can do. So, for example, you can create a start, get the total number of active accounts, create a document library, folders, content types, and so on and so forth. And if you are using this MCP server and you would like to share your examples, this is how you can contribute to this repo currently. So share your experience and what you done with this tool, and we will expose it here as a additional scenario. You can also find additional guidance in the official CLI from Microsoft 365 docs, how to set it up, because it's like part of this our CLI from Microsoft 365 tools. And here, of course, you can see how many commands, so how many things you can modify and actually do what is the power of this MCP server, which I think is really, really cool. I also wanted to show you an example with Cloud that I was testing and playing just before this call, and I got stopped by my free program because I don't use Cloud primarily, so I just installed it for this call and was playing all the time. And doesn't show this message now, but it showed me that, okay, you already reached the free limit and you need to wait a few hours. But I created this, like, create a site. So I left this prompt so I can show you, get a site's usage report and generate HTML report based on my response with some charts and emojis. This is what I love. And it used the CLI for Microsoft 365 MCP server. So you need to configure this MCP server up front. I will show you where it is in a bit, but also how to go about it. You can check the guidance in the repo, as I said. So there are 2 ways how to configure it in Cloud. And I will add probably for Cursor, because I saw many folks also use this tool, MCP client. So probably this guidance will follow along as well. So there's a let's say, easy way to just import a file and a bit of hacky way, which I'm more love. It's more the developer way. So just again, read all the comments it could use. So it got the additional context, then it got the docs of the actual commands. So as I said, CLI has commands that are like a scenario based, that don't wrap at one API use case. Then it executed this command to get the context, and then it used, like, let's say, typical Cloud skills to develop a page, an HTML page, and this is the response I got. And it's a web page I could already publish. And okay, I don't have this is my dev tenant, so I don't have a lot of traffic here with some charts and some table. I think it's not working. But anyway, it got somewhere to the very first start. And I think I have 2 more minutes. Maybe I'll just show it, and won't finish. So of course, you can also use it in terminal. This Copilot is also visible in terminal. This is something I really, really like. And I already configured in Copilot CLI in terminal this MCP server, and we can also use it here. So this is not the prompt I wanted. This was not the prompt I was looking for. Sorry for that. This is the last example. Most probably it would take us like 5 minutes. So I will be already past time. Sorry for that. I think I have it somewhere in my notes. I wanted to show something that it could do quite quickly. I don't have a lot of time. I want to at least leave time for other presenters. So I just wanted to show you that you can use it in multiple clients. And actually, in every client that supports MCP servers, you can use this our MCP server. So here I typed that using CLI. So I typed that using CLI for Microsoft 365, so it would know that you have, hey, I have an MCP server that is exposing this tool. So this is what the user, me, wanted to use. Okay, so that's why I'm always like starting with the prompt that using this tool, do this stuff. Okay. And just check what sites do I have. In the meantime, it's prompting me, can it do this? And that's why you see those prompts that I'm approving. And I hope in a very short time, okay, it will execute the list of commands and will give us a short summary. So on your tenant, you have like, I don't know, 100 sites, something like this, some of our communication sites, some team sites, and some like, I don't know, some favorite sites you have, and we'll expose them. Let's see, let's, okay, I don't have time. Anyway, you'll, I hope, okay. So you have 200, wow, 13 sites, and these are some sites you have and some notable sites. Okay, so you can see it's working. So already I'm over time, so that's how I'm speeding. The last slides I have are resources. So if you are interested in using this tool, please do follow and check our repository. You have all the guidance, how to set it up locally. It's really 3-step setup: install CLI, configure it for MCP server, install MCP server on your client, and off you go. And if you have any questions or want to reach us out, you can always go over the community efforts like the Discord, or you can find me and just reach me personally. And please do try out this tool and share with us some awesome scenarios, what stuff you were able to do with this CLI. Don't be afraid if you break anything. You can log into CLI with an account that has less privileges. It doesn't have to be an admin account. It can be an account that has only read permissions, and then the MCP client will only be possible to use those commands that read and will give you information. It won't do anything for you, so you can play around safely. Okay, that's about it. Happy MCP prompting, everybody, and back to you, David.